After exercising, an old woman named Alicia talks with her friends about their respective children and grandchildren. Alicia is a rich elder and often spends her time enjoying her retirement in her elite house. She lives with her husband, Ignacio, and her household assistant, Gladys, who has a son named Santiago. Even though Gladys can't write and read due to her delayed brain development since childhood, she is such a humble and honest person. Luckily, despite Gladys's shortcomings, Alicia believes in her sincerely and also loves Santiago as if he were her own son. While spending time with Santiago, Alicia gets a call from the police who shares that her son Daniel is being held in prison on charges of violence and forcing himself onto his ex-wife. Alicia and her husband immediately rush over and visit their son. After returning from prison, Alicia comes to Santiago's school to take him home. Having done all the daily activities, she and her husband consult about Daniel's case. They discover that this is not the first time Daniel has been in trouble with the law. Previously, he has also been charged with violence but was not jailed because his detention was suspended. At home, her husband confesses his frustration, feeling done with his son's behavior which has put a headache on him for so long. However, Alicia still defends her child because of her great affection. As she is about to head to the kitchen, Alicia sees and tells Gladys to use a pair of sugar bowls instead of her favorite regular sugar bowl that she often uses. Alicia thinks that Gladys is pregnant because she looks dizzy and tired. She then adds that Gladys should not get pregnant anymore since there is no more room in the apartment for additional people. The day of Daniel's trial finally arrives, where Daniel clearly states that the claim is a lie. In his defense, he says that his ex-wife Marcella tries to separate him and his child by making 23 demands and making up excuses. He says that he has been framed on the day of the incident, where Marcella contacted him to talk about their child. Daniel also revealed that his wife considered him useless and even abused him since his business went bankrupt and has no income. He alleges Marcella that she has an affair with her co-worker and is a drug addict, thus making him fall into addiction too. Those cases that happen to Daniel certainly become a byword among Alicia's neighbors and friends, which of course make her and her husband feel ashamed. Therefore, Alicia tries hard to get her son out of there quickly because she believes that her son is innocent. Next, it is Marcella's turn to give a statement at the trial. Marcella explains that her first meeting with Daniel happened about 7 years ago. At that time, Daniel was kicked out by his father after a big fight. After getting to know about each other, they both got married and lived in Marcella's house. When Marcella became pregnant, Daniel's motorcycle shop closed and went bankrupt, leaving him with a lot of debt. After their child was born, Daniel had absolutely no intention of looking for work and only relied on Marcella to make money. Marcella was forced to work 14 hours a day even into the night to fulfill her family's needs. After Daniel started to become addicted to drugs, he started to be rude by spitting and even insulting Marcella in front of his friends. Marcella's suffering got even worse when the medicine wore off and Daniel began to feel numb. Feeling hopeless, Marcella would then give him money to buy more drugs so Daniel could stay calm. However, Daniel would be very cruel if he did not get what he wanted. Marcella's patience ran out when one day Daniel beat their child and said that he would kill her that day. Daniel took a knife to kill his child, but Marcella managed to get his son to escape through the window. On another occasion, Daniel managed to find her and came by pointing a gun at Marcella, and also forcing himself on her. Marcella couldn't do anything because she was afraid that her child would be threatened. Fortunately, the doorbell rang at that time, thus Daniel panicked and chose to run away. After the trial, Alicia and her husband talk about their son's case. Ignacio has run out of patience with his son. Moreover, a sperm sample has been found on the spot which will make Daniel imprisoned should it actually belong to him. Despite all the statements against her son, Alicia still believes her son is innocent. So, she continues to defend him and even orders her husband to hire a professional lawyer named Eshizabal, which he immediately rejects, because the fee is very expensive. Not only asking for high rates, they also have to bribe judges and police to ensure her sons win. On the other hand, Gladys is very sick to her stomach, so she presses a knife against it, but luckily Alicia stops her. She gives her medicine as well as a bonus salary for that month. The next day, Alicia comes alone to meet Eshizabal without her husband's consent, where Eshizabal outrightly asks for a bribe of $400,000 in payment for him. At night, the households are awakened by loud noises from the bathroom. After checking, Ignacio finds out that Gladys has killed her newborn baby. It turns out that all this time, Gladys is pregnant. The police are notified of the situation and immediately come to check the location. The night after, Alicia tells her husband that Eshizabal has asked her to sell their apartment to cover for the lawyering fee. Due to his son and Gladys cases, Ignacio is so tired and sick that he chooses to leave. Eventually, Alicia has to face all of these situations alone. After selling her apartment, she meets Eshizabal and is shown the evidence of Daniel's sperm lab results at the crime scene, which is strong evidence against her son in court. Without that evidence, Daniel can be released from prison, so Alicia feels very relieved. On the other hand, Gladys already named as the suspect in the murder case and is getting interviewed. When she is being interviewed by her lawyer, she doesn't want to talk at all, which of course makes the lawyer confused on how to lighten her sentence. Eventually, Gladys is taken to a woman-only detention center where her childhood is revealed. Back in the past, her mother died when she was little, so she lived with her father. Unfortunately, she was not cared for properly and often left alone for days at their secluded home, far from other people. Worse yet, his father also slept with her when she was at his home. When her father remarried, things got even worse. Gladys' suffering became even worse because she had to take care of all the housework and her step-siblings. Luckily, at the age of 13, she was invited to run away by her neighbors to go to Buenos Aires and work as a maid there. After Eshizabal has erased the evidence, Daniel is released from prison and finally comes back to his mother's house. There, they talk to each other. After hearing Gladys' story, Daniel suspects the child that Gladys has killed is the child of her illicit relationship with his father. Despite the opinion and their first time talking after getting out of prison, Alicia just keeps quiet, still not believing the kind of man her son has turned into. The day of Gladys' trial finally arrives, and some witnesses are also present. First, Ignacio explains mainly on Gladys as a figure, that Gladys is a simple and honest person. Even when their money was missing, he and Alicia never thought that Gladys took it. When Santiago was born, he and Alicia took care of him and paid for his schooling. Ignacio's statement really proves how trusting they are to Alicia. The next statement comes from a doctor who has handled Gladys' baby. The doctor says that the cause of the baby's death is due to asphyxia or lack of air. This is caused by the airway being smothered, indicating that Gladys killed her newborn child by covering the airways. The psychologist who interviewed Gladys also gives a statement that the reason Gladys killed her child is due to the trauma she has experienced as a child, coupled with threats from her employer that she would be kicked out of the house should she become pregnant again. However, Alicia denies ever saying that. At this moment, Santiago is in Alicia's care and already considers him as her own biological grandson, and even sends Santiago to a prestigious school. Ultimately, it is turn for Gladys to give her statement. Instead of defending herself, Gladys thanks Alicia for being nice to her during her time working there. Gladys also wants Alicia to look after her child and gives her Santiago's custody. Sadly, Gladys is sentenced to 18 years in prison. In the next few days, Santiago, who is now being cared for by Alicia, asks to visit his mother because he misses her. Thus, Alicia takes Santiago to meet his mother in prison. Arriving there, they play Legos and talk to each other. At the end of their visiting hours, Gladys thanks Alicia for taking care of her child and also takes him to meet her in prison. Until then, Gladys reveals the real facts why she killed her newborn child. The incident began one night when Daniel came to the house and stole his parents' money. Not only that, he also forced himself on Gladys and threatened to kill Gladys and Santiago if she reported it to his parents. So the newly born child is the result of Daniel's depraved actions. Alicia couldn't help but be silent after hearing that. She can't imagine what is going on. She tried her best to defend her son, who turns out to be someone who is very immoral. Then, Alicia goes to her new apartment and Santiago accidentally bumps into a cardboard box, which contains Gladys' favorite sugar bowl that she used to use. Alicia cries greatly, remembering those times, thus she starts to be compelled to do the right thing. The next day, she visits the Women's Protection Office and consults on an appeal in order to lighten Gladys' sentence. However, the appeal will still be rejected if there is no strong evidence. At the end of the film, unexpectedly, Alicia actually comes to see Marcella and gives her the sperm sample results of the laboratory that she has taken before. Alicia wants to imprison Daniel for his behavior, convinced that only prison time can actually erase her son's immorality. Marcella could only ponder and Alicia immediately leaves. With the evidence, Daniel is successfully thrown into prison and an appeal hearing for Gladys' leniency will begin. Ultimately, Alicia, the psychologist, and Gladys' lawyer together enter the courtroom to get Gladys out of prison. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel out. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.